Hey guys, welcome to the Hillbilly Wrap-up. It's my end of the show for the week where I take a look at all the news events, what's in the news. And thank you so much for being here. It is Friday, May 16th. It's been a beautiful week here in Arkansas. It's green, just like the background. That's how it looks where I live now, nice and green. And welcome to the Friday show. I really do appreciate it. Friday, we kind of kick back. It's a little more casual. And I will put a link if you want to call in and ask a question or interface in that way. Let me just give the invitation here. So if you do call in, just give a quick, question or comment, and then I will comment on that. So thanks, guys. And it was a good week. I had a great show. I thought with Z-Man. We talk about South Africa. That was I think a really cool show. And then Sasha, thank you, Sasha. We had the Daylight Dispatch. And also this week I had the 2 bonus shows, Monday and Tuesday, because I met the goal. That was really cool. And we'll do the same thing tonight. If I can raise $50, I will do a show on Monday, the Ramsey Paul show, a bonus show. So if we could do that, that'd be great. There's a couple of ways you can donate. There's, let me bring this up here. I have it off now because it's a little obnoxious sometimes put up all the time. But Powerchat Live, you can send in your chats there. I appreciate that. And then Rumble has Rants, and YouTube, they have SuperChats. And Streamelements, I had a scare this week about it, but it was a boomer thing. Streamelements is fine. And I will take a tip there too. So you have multiple ways to interact with the show. And I appreciate all your feedback and being involved. Typically, I try to keep the super chats towards the end of the show. I don't know. I'll mix it up. But if you send them in early, that's good. And I promise I will get to them. And if I do miss a super chat, I always make it up. And Drew gave $20 last week. He said, happy birthday, Sasha. Sasha did see that. So thank you very much for your donation. Yeah, Sasha had a birthday on May 13th. And we went out to eat and celebrate for that. So thank you very much, Drew, on that. And let me just see what else. Do I have anything else? Oh, yeah. If you haven't, be sure to sign up for my Substack. Today I did a member only video. I do that on every Friday. And then plus every Tuesday for the Substack supporters, we have a roundtable, which is really good. So it's just as a community. I'm really starting to like the roundtables and love to have you be part of it. And you don't have to join the roundtable to watch. And that's a lot of fun. And yesterday, Paul Kersey, if you know him, he had a X space, I think they call it, was Z-Man was in on it, Peter Brimlow, and some other guy. I forget his name now, but I apologize. But I just wanted to listen to it. It's about South Africa, and I joined the audience. Like, oh, there's Ramsey Paul. Well, let's join in and give a few words. So it was fun. I don't think they recorded it though, but who knows? Maybe I will call in again in the future. So there's a lot of fun stuff going on, and you guys make it all possible. So thank you for all you're doing. And as always, I always forget, but if you want to write me, I do have a P.O. box in Fayetteville. I go to the big city a couple times a week. And it's weird living in the country because you have a lot of weird things that happen. Earlier this week, Sasha was coming home from work about midnight. And then she walked in all mad. I'm like, what happened? She goes, I can't even get to the house. On the highway, there's like this huge tree that had fallen down. And so I walked out there. It's like 500 feet to the highway. And, maybe 100 feet, 200 feet down the road, this massive tree was blocking both lanes of a state highway. Luckily, some other guy pulled up in a pickup truck, him and his son. Country guys, not the soy types, They were people around here. They got out their chainsaws, and we were able to get most of it removed. I called the sheriff, and then they sent out a county crew. So there's always excitement living in the country. I want to trade for it, though. I love it out here. It's peaceful and quiet. but you got to be prepared. Trees do fall down. Things do happen. All right. Let's just see. We'll go through some of the stuff that happened this week. And some of this is pretty recent. James Comey, he was a former FBI director. Let's take a look at this here. And hope you guys can see this.
Whatever his intent, I will tell you that there is a guy in Georgia who is issuing threats on my life about a month ago, and he's in jail today. He has been indicted with a crime, as he should have been, and he is in jail as we speak. So
yeah, this is Comey. He's the ex-FBI director, and he posted, let me just show you. Maybe I should, that will give you context in case you haven't seen this. And he deleted it, but the internet saves everything. So let me just show you what he posted. I guess I should have showed this first, so you get context. And a lot of you have already seen this, but this was on his Instagram or something. And Comey said, "Cool shell formation on my beach walk." And it says 86, which means 86 is a slang term to eliminate or kick out. And 47 is obviously Trump is the 47th president. So Comey, you can make the argument he was saying he wants to get rid of President Trump and maybe assassinate him. And he's trying to play like this passive aggressive little beach. I just happened to find this. I didn't even know. And he deleted that and acting like I didn't know anything. And I'm sure if someone said 86 and they put out in shells a special little ethnic group, I'm telling you about that. And when Comey was in power as an FBI agent, I don't think you could have said, "Oh yeah, I just found this shell formation. What do you know? What do you know?" It said 86, and them. They wouldn't have none of that. They'd be, "Oh, this is another Holocaust. This is hate. And they would have assigned 10 FBI agents to look at this. And, "Oh, how dumb you think we are. We know that you put out this on the shells. Quit playing stupid." But Comey, because he's doing this and he realizes he shouldn't do this, he's now acting dumb. "I don't know. I just ran upon this. I didn't even know what it was." Yeah, right. And I made a joke. That's like people used to always make a joke in our circles. You would say that you want to do something illegal. "I'm going to blow up that building." Just in Minecraft. Minecraft's a game. So that's an out. If I say in Minecraft, that makes it legal. It really doesn't. And that's kind of like what Comey was doing. "Oh, I'm just saying this in Minecraft. I don't really mean this," because it is illegal to make threats on the president. We have free speech in this country, but with the president, you can't threaten to assassinate. You can't. You'll go to jail for that. And I guess the Secret Service did talk to him, but unfortunately, they didn't arrest him. I thought it would have been funny throw Comey in jail for that. But now, so that's the background. So let's just take a look at this video again here, what's happening here. All right, we'll repeat this. And this is Tulsi Gabbard.
Whatever his intent, I will tell you that there is a guy in Georgia who is issuing threats on my life.
Was that like some transgender guy? And most of these threats anymore seem to be women. I saw this one guy got arrested. He was making death threats, or she was making death threats. She is 6'3", 240 pounds, like a beard stubble. And these guys are just screwed up in the head.
About a month ago, and he's in jail today. He has been indicted with a crime, as he should have been, and he is in jail as we speak. So whatever James Comey intent, he and people like him need to be held to account according to the law.
And the law's for everyone. Just because you're the ex-FBI director doesn't mean you can make assassination threats. Let's face it, that's what he was doing. He's trying to play real coy about it, but everyone knows,
Which is something that he claims to have given his life for and stands by the rule of law. Fantastic. The rule of law says people like him who issue direct threats against the President of the United States, essentially issuing a call to assassinate him, must be held accountable under the law.
Do you believe Comey should be in jail?
I think so. You can't make threats against people or like that. So yeah, and everyone should be held accountable. Again, Comey would have thrown people in jail if they did that. Oh, I just was on the beach and I saw this 86. That group, they would have had a big fit about that.
I do. Any other person with a position of influence that he has, people who take very seriously what a guy of his stature, his experience, and what the propaganda media has built him up to be, I'm very concerned for the president's life. We've already seen assassination attempts. I'm very concerned for his life. And James Comey, in my view, should be held accountable and put behind bars for this.
Director Gabbard, thank you so much.
Sadly, it looks like he won't be. They did interview him, the Secret Service, because whenever you make a threat against the president, they will send people out to talk to you and see if they need to press a charge or not. But our country, this just shows how broken it is. And I don't think there can be peace anymore. This country's too divided. And I support what Donald Trump's doing. I'm happy what he's doing, but I got to be realistic. Z-Man had a great podcast today about it, like the new paganism, but it's really about how the left, they have a belief system that is so radically different than ours. There's nothing that brings us together. It used to be Christianity that brought us together. And I mean, there's differences in denominations and so forth. I get it, but that was something we could all kind of come together on. Now, because the Christianity has mostly been attacked, we have all these weird cults, as Z-Man called it. And that's what it is. You have the Gaia cult, worship the earth and climate change. And then you have this trans cult, this idea that you're assigned to sex at birth is not biological. And a man that's born a man can change to be a woman, even though you can't change. They really believe this. They're totally divorced from reality. How do you work with people like that? And so when you have an ex-FBI director making cutesy death threats against the president, we've come a long ways in a bad way. And this is kind of where we are now, and we need to understand it. I don't think there's any going back. We're at that point right now. And hey, I already got $10. So again, my goal tonight's 50. If I get 50 tonight, we have a bonus show on Monday. Hi, Ramps. I just want to thank you for your videos. They've been a pleasure to watch. Here's a donation to continue your work. Well, North, thank you very much. I really do appreciate that, North. And I love doing this. And it seems like every day I'm doing content, which I love doing. The Daylight Dispatch show with Sasha. That's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying that. And then this show every Friday night, the Z-Man show every Wednesday afternoon. And then I do my videos, a roundtable Tuesday night. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm really happy to do it. And you guys make it possible. So thank you very much. So North kind of kicked off tonight. So thank you. Only $40 more to go. All right. Let's take a look at some more politics stuff. We got a good show here tonight. Good show tonight. And here we go.
I think it's time for a bit of a reality check, right? We were going to late April. Donald Trump's approval rating, his net approval seemed to be falling. He seemed to be adios, amigos. People were writing his political obituary. He is rising from the dead. Look at this. Hello, Trump's net approval rating among voters. This is the Reuters Ipsos polling. Look at this. In late April, he was 8 points underwater. But look at where he was in the most recent poll among voters. He's up 7 points to a -1 point net favorability rating. This is not the picture I think a lot of people were thinking that we...
Actually, it's higher than this. They're saying the voters. I saw the recent approval poll, and Trump has a majority of the people approve what he's doing. I think people support him. They do in general. You got the 20% hardcore nuts that have Trump derangement syndrome. And I used to say that when I heard Trump derangement syndrome, it's a cutesy thing to say, but it is a real thing. Some people are they're mentally broken with Trump. He could do anything. For example, his plan to reduce the price of prescription drugs, he could make it so our drugs are so much cheaper. And let's say if that even happens, they would still hate him. Trump used to joke, hey, I could cure cancer and they would still hate me. This 20%, they definitely, no matter what he did, that hate him. Their mind is broken in it. It's this weird cult, and Trump represents Hitler, the devil, whatever, and they can't ever get out of that.
We would be painting in late April. I think a lot of people expected his approval rate to keep dropping, but at least according to Reuters Ipsos, it's in fact rising.
Put this then in a larger perspective, Harry.
Yeah, okay. So, this is just one.
Part of this, though, I would encourage Trump, and Trump cares about approval polls, opinion polls. I don't think he should really look at it that much. He should look at what's the best for the nation. And if I was president, I'm saying I don't really care about polls. I'm not going to run for office again. I'm going to do what's best for the country. And long term, that's what you got to look at. Short term, it goes up and down.
One poll, right? But let's take a look across an aggregate of polls. What are we seeing here? And I want to compare both to where Donald Trump is now versus where he was in late April, as well as where he was at this point in term number one. What you see is at -6.
And this is amazing because he's got the entire mainstream media against him.
Points. He is a little bit worse off than he is in the Ipsos Reuters polling, but he is considerably better than he was in late April when he was 9 points underwater. And more than that, look at this. He's nearly 10 points better than he was back in May 16th of 2017 in his first term. So what we see is Donald Trump's not just doing better than he was doing in late April of 2025. He's doing considerably better than he was doing at this point in term number one, about 10 points better than he was doing at this point in term.
Well, part of the reason I think he had the big drop was it May 16th. These polls are so crazy. May 16th wasn't, what is May 16th, right? Oh, that was 2017. Late April 2025. So that was just a couple of weeks ago, right? 2-3 weeks ago. And that's when we had all the turmoil because of the tariffs. And most of those he kind of walked back somewhat. I don't know where they are, but it created a sense of panic. The stock market crashed. Bitcoin was down. But since then, Trump has pulled back on some of the tariffs and the stock market has recovered. Bitcoin is almost at an all-time high. So I think people are feeling a lot more favorable. And they had good news about inflation is down. The price of eggs, that for someone is a big marker they have. The price of eggs is down now. So I think all of these things are working and people like it. And I also think they really like Trump and his foreign policy. Now, foreign policy, the average American doesn't care as much as then economics is always number one. But even the foreign policy, keeping us out of wars, for most Americans, they like that. They like that Trump is trying to work a deal with Iran and even the Houthis. And there's a certain segment, what I call the Ben Shapiro crowd, that will rage and say Trump betrayed them. He's anti-Semitic because he won't declare war on Iran. But I think Trump is trying legitimately to keep peace, and I think that's a good thing. And he's trying, but we'll get into the Ukraine thing. I know the Ukraine thing's been going on forever, but hey, they had negotiations today, Russia and Ukraine. It didn't go that well, but you have to remember Zelensky he signed, and it was 2022, a law in the Ukrainian constitution. Not that law means anything in Ukraine. He's a dictator. But there was in the constitution that Ukraine cannot negotiate. No one but Zelensky can negotiate with Russia. No one in Ukraine can. It's illegal. It's against their constitution. But they did that anyway. They don't follow the constitution. But that was a big step. So the fact they actually had a face-to-face meeting, it was a disaster. It was funny. We'll get to that. But still, that's a step, right? So that's an improvement. And I think people are liking that.
In a vacuum, -6 isn't good, but in Trumpian terms, against himself, it's actually a pretty good position for him to be in politically compared to himself.
Exactly right. This is considerably higher than he has traditionally been.
So the big question here is why, Harry? Why did it bottom out? Why might it be rising?
Oh.
I haven't heard this yet, but I would say it's because in late April, you had all the economic turmoil because of the tariffs and everyone panicking. And that has largely gone away. And, you can say what you want about the boomers and their 401ks, but they do obsess about that. And when it goes way down, they get real nervous and upset, but now it's way back up and they seem to be happier.
Okay, why? Well, take a look at the chance of a recession. It's actually falling. The chance of a recession is falling. In late April, it was 60% according to JP Morgan. Look at where it is now. It's less than 50%. How about Goldman Sachs? You see the same thing, 45%, now falling to 35%. The bottom line is, it is the economy, the economy, the economy. As the chance of a recession has fallen, as the trade wars have kind of collapsed a little bit, at least with China, Trump trying to make a deal, we do see that. I do think that the voters are responding to this, and therefore we're seeing Trump's approval rating going up.
The tariffs were really hurting him, and he backed off, and it may be helping him politically now.
Sometimes Donald Trump has some pretty good political instincts.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I've talked before. I don't know where Trump really stands on the tariffs, and they're not gone. He did kind of if he's doing 4D chess, kudos to him, because what he did, he just made these crazy. Remember, Liberation Day, wasn't that April 2nd? April 2nd. I remember that because he didn't want to do it on April 1st, Fool's Day. And everyone was like shocked because all these countries is based on the trade deficit, massive tariffs on everyone. And the markets went nuts. And then he came back, and except for China, which was a special case, he goes, we'll just make all the others 10%. But still, that's more than it was. So now everyone's like, yeah, it's only 10%, but it's like a 10%. It's an increase, So we do have tariffs now on that we didn't have before. And the United States is getting a lot of revenue from that. So that happened. Now, China has gone back and forth, and it looks like they're trying to get a deal there. So I do think, they thought like I did. It's probably mostly economic. So that was a good thing here. All right. Let's see here. I just want to make sure I caught up. Carl X9, $20 super chat. So I'm up to $30. $20 more. I do a bonus stream on Monday. So thank you. Do you think China has a superior form of government to ours? They seem to be catching up to us technologically, and our culture is an open sewer that cultivates all types of bad behavior. That's an excellent question. And the short answer is no. I think there are different people, and I admire East Asians. I think they're very intelligent people, but they're not us, and I don't want them here necessarily. And again, I like the people compared to some other groups. They're not so much criminal. They tend to be intelligent, but they need to be in China. But they're intelligent people. They have a long history of civilizations. There's some groups of people that simply cannot maintain civilization without whites, right? I mean, they go back to the Stone Age jungle. Chinese, they've always had a civilization, not like ours exactly, and they don't have our spirit. They think in a different way than we do, which is a little bit alien. So I think for the Chinese, their system works okay. It's a mixture of communism and capitalism. Officially, the Communist Party runs everything, but it's not communist. They don't have communist economics anymore. They have capitalism. But the Communist Party is still in control, very authoritarian. But they seem to like that. They seem to like that structure. They're not known for outside of the box thinking. They're kind of like a hive mind. That's kind of how they are. And, good for them. I mean, I think it works for them. And you're right. China is advanced in a lot of ways. A lot of people have gone to China, and they're blown away how advanced their cities are. And again, they don't have to tolerate crime. They don't have DEI. They don't have all that bullshit that we have to deal with. So in some ways, they are more advanced than we are. Tucker Carlson, remember when he went to Russia? He was shocked because he was always told the propaganda Russia's a poor third world nation. And he went to Moscow, and the subways are clean, a lot cleaner than New York City. People are nice. Everything's beautiful. Doesn't mean they don't have problems, but that's where you get all the propaganda. No, our system, it really sucks. And what I call liberal democracy. And when they say our democracy, they don't mean democracy in the sense of the mechanics of people voting. They have a different meaning. In Western world, the United States, the global American empire, When they mean our democracy, they mean thinking the way they do about trans rights, about LGBTQ, about eliminating whiteness, about girl bosses, the whole litany, abortion, anti-Christian. That's what they mean by our democracy, not voting. That's not what they mean by it. So that's why, for example, they can ban political parties, let's say in Germany, the most popular political party, they're close to banning. In Romania, the guy that won the most votes, so he said, "Oh well, no, the wrong guy won. We don't. No, well, this democracy. No, we're not going to do that." Le Pen, a very popular party, they arrested her, and they try to do that with Trump in our country. So they don't mean democracy, meaning the will of the people. It's just a phrase they use to mean you have to believe what we believe in. This is our religion. This is our democracy. And so if you vote the way we don't like it, no, that's not our democracy. So if you guys vote like you want to get rid of all the illegal aliens, we don't care what you want. That's not our democracy. So our system is fundamentally corrupt. It is. And as I did my video today for my Substack people, we're at the point now where I don't buy into their morality. I don't really care. I don't care about being lectured to by these people wagging, "That's not our democracy. That's not our principles. You're evil. You got to put don't you care about the starving Africans? Oh, how can you want white South Africans in, but not Haitians? That's a double standard. That makes you racist." I don't care about that anymore. I don't care. I care about what's good for me and my people. That's what I care about. And whatever system of government is beneficial to like me, my family, my community, that's what I want. I don't want any system of government that leads to my destruction. Let's say a bunch of Somalis pouring in. I don't give a damn if you call that system of government liberal democracy, a republic, communism, socialism, fascism. I don't care what label you put on it. I don't want it. I don't want it. And any form of government that provides a good standard of living and a peaceful place to live, that's what I want. And you're moralizing and wagging your finger at us. It doesn't work for me anymore. I don't give a shit. And for so long, our people have been brainwashed, like, "Oh, you better not put your interests first. Otherwise we'll call you a naughty word." Right. And that means that, "Oh, I don't want that." Mainstream Republicans, they piss their pants. At least they used to. That's changing. "Oh, no. The reason I don't want all these Muslim immigrants into Europe, no, it has nothing to do with race or religion. It's because they're just not compatible to our precious Jewish population. I worry about them. And what about our precious homosexuals? They're not tolerant of them. That's why. It has nothing to do with our people. I don't even know what our people are. What is white? I don't even know what white it means." And they go through that routine. Screw that. I am tired of that mindset. So it's like they're scared to have anything in our interest. So we can't say, "No, I don't want them here because they're not good for our people. They're not good for my community." There's the small town I live next to, not that close, but it's nice. It's just like almost 100% white. It's peaceful. There's like no crime. I don't want to lose that. And I don't have to justify this. "Oh, that makes you a bad person." I'm like, I don't care about your morality. It means nothing to me anymore. Nada. So that really is a big change for that. So that's good. Hey, Scanner, $20 Sasha's birthday present. I'm sure Sasha will note that. And I'm sure Sasha says, thank you for that. So let's see. So let's see here. It says 20. 20, 30, 40. Yes, we made the goal. I made $50. So Monday we will have the bonus Ramsey Paul stream. So thank you guys. We made the goal. $50. I should get my yeah, hang on here. I gotta get I'll get this right here. All right, I'm back. Not a boomer moment. Dave sent me this. Yay! I got to ring the cowbell. We made the goal. So That's what people do on live streams, right? You got to have something like that. So I rang the cowbell, and Dave from Arkansas sent me that. Dave is like a real life friend, him and his wife. I won't say her name. And his dog is an Australian Shepherd. I don't want to dox his dog. A nice dog, though. So thank you, everyone, for that. All right, and keep them up. So if I get another 50, we do a show on Tuesday too. Thank you for that. All right, let's see what else is here. All right, we'll get into the. I want to look into this here. Here we go.
Years old, and I know people.
Now, this is interesting. This has to do with Biden's mental decline. And this is still important. I know everyone's now, even CNN's like, yeah, the guy was stupid. I think he was an imbecile. He was mentally off. He's senile. And these are the same people that right before the election were saying, well, how dare you say that? That's a right-wing conspiracy. He's as sharp as a tack. And, oh, you can't keep up with him. Joe Biden's so fast. I'm like, wow, he sure doesn't show it, right? You remember that time with all the world leaders and he started to wander off? And like, I think the president of Italy had to like Tard wrangle him back over. It was embarrassing. And so this is all coming out now. So this is what Trump says about this. And by the way, it shows you how the media lies. They knew his condition because, and I'll prove it. They knew his condition, but they lied to you because they didn't want Trump to be president. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. What a bunch of liars these people are. And if they lied to you about Biden, what else did they lie to you about? They lied about COVID. They lied about the Ukraine-Russian war. Remember? Oh, Russia's a weak country. They're out of ammunition. Oh, Putin's dying of cancer. All lies. All lies. And they just keep telling these lies. And then meanwhile, they always like refer to us as, oh, the right-wing disinformation. We got to censor them. And meanwhile, they're the biggest liars on the planet. But here's Trump talking about it.
People that are 89, 90, 92, 93 years old that are literally perfect. But Joe was not one of them. And they did a lot of hiding. They were really playing games. And, you know, you can't do that. Our country's at stake. You see, even a thing like this, there's so many decisions for billions and billions, but then you have even more important decisions. You have decisions for life, and you can't have a man in that condition. And everybody was holding back, including the press, including the media.
Yeah, they were. There's no doubt about that. That was a scandal. And let me show you some more about that here. This is they released some of his. This is an audio that they kept hidden. This was President Joe Biden's interview with special counsel Robert Hur just dropped. And this is something that the media hid and everything hid. But let's listen to, it's a couple of minutes, but I think this is important. So you can listen to, this was when Biden was president of the United States. So let's listen to this here.
We were living in Chambers Road, and there were documents related to the Penn Biden Center or the Biden.
This has to do with, remember, the whole document thing was really stupid. That's actually what the FBI, remember, they raided Donald Trump's home and went through Melania's underwear drawer because Trump had these supposedly classified documents at his home. What's he going to do? He may sell them to the Russians. You remember that? Joe Biden did the same thing. He had all these classified documents near his Corvette in some garage. So I think this is when they interviewed him. And it was funny because when they interviewed Biden, they didn't press any charges. And the reason the FBI said they weren't going to charge him is because the jury could hear that Joe Biden is not capable. He's not capable of understanding these things. And he was president of the United States. And they're like, no, we can't really charge Joe because he doesn't really know what he's doing. He's like, I mean, then why is he president? And why did the media cover it up? We all could see it. I mean, he didn't hide it that well. And I often said during the time, and I wasn't exaggerating, that Joe Biden, well, now he couldn't, but even when he was president, he could not come on, let's say, the Ramsey Paul show and interact with me. He would not, because of politics, but that were different politically, he wouldn't be able to follow my questions. He would start to ramble off, and he does Grandpa Simpson, right? He starts rambling off on another topic.
Cancer from your shot, or your book. Where did you keep papers that related to those things that you were actively working on?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying. And so it was, and by the way, there was.
I mean, this is painful to listen to. This is like talking to someone literally in a nursing home. It is. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Still a lot of people at the time when I got out of the Senate that were encouraging me to run in this period, except the president. It's not a mean thing to say. I mean, he just thought that she had a better shot of winning the presidency than I did. And so I hadn't at this point, even though I'm at Penn, I hadn't walked away from the idea that I might run for office again. So if I ran again, I'd be running for president. And so what was happening though, when Bo died,
He doesn't know when his son died, right? This should be a traumatic event. You remember something like, he doesn't know. He doesn't know what month or year or anything like that.
May 30th, 2018.
They had to tell him.
2015 he died. 2015.
So that his advisors are having to tell him when his son died.
I think it's 2015.
I'm not sure the months, but I think it was.
Yeah.
That's right, Mr. President.
And what's happened in the meantime is that and Trump gets elected in November of 2017.
No, he didn't get elected in November 2017, Biden.
2016.
The guy had to correct him.
All right. So, why do I have 2017 here?
No, he's saying, why do I think it's 2017? He doesn't even know basic things like presidential elections are on even years. You know, they're never on 2017. School children, now they don't, because school children are just taught their pronouns and I guess anal sex. But back in the day, school children would know 2017 would never be a presidential election. Biden was younger. He would have known that, but he doesn't know that. He's stuck on 2017 for some reason.
That's when you left office in January.
Okay. But that's when Trump gets sworn in.
Right, Biden. Yeah, when you left office, he gets sworn in on January 2017. This isn't really difficult things. We had the election in November of 2016. That's in the Constitution. And then the president gets sworn in in January. It's not that complicated.
Right.
But Biden doesn't know this.
Right, correct. Okay, yeah, correct. And in 2017, Bo had passed, and
no, he didn't pass in 2017. He forgot again when his son died. They reminded him it was 2015, but he already forgot. And by the way, he's not addressing the whole original question about the documents. He's rambling about something else. Now he's just sitting there. He doesn't know what to say.
this is personal. The genesis of the book and the title, Promise Me Dad, was I know you're all close with your sons and daughters, but Bo was like my right arm.
His right arm that he can't remember when he died and forgets after he's been reminded.
And that was my left. These guys were a year and a day apart, and they could finish each other's sentences. And Bo, I used to go home on the train in the period that I was still in the Senate. Anyway.
He doesn't know when he was in the Senate. He can't remember when he was in the Senate. So he doesn't know how to answer the question. He rambles. He can't remember when his beloved son died, and they have to remind him. Then he forgets again. Then he doesn't remember when Trump won the election. Was it 2017 he won in January? No, Mr. President. That's when he took office. Oh, and then they asked him about when were you in the Senate? That's what he's talking about, but he can't remember when he was in the Senate.
Pressure, not pressure. Bo knew how much I adored him. And this sounds, maybe it sounds so. Everybody knew how close we were. There was not anybody in the world who wondered whether or not. Anyway. And so.
Sir, I'm wondering if it's a good time to take a break. Briefly.
No, let me just keep going to get it done.
The FBI agent or the ones investigating him, because they're asking him about the documents. And at this point, the agents are like, I mean, come on, what are we doing here? He can't answer the question. He doesn't know when he was elected president. He doesn't know when he was in the Senate. He can't remember when his son died. And then he forgets again when his son died. And then he rambles off on other things. I mean, it's really sad. And this is delivery. Like I'm talking like this. And Joe Biden wasn't always that way. If you look at in the 80s, he did interviews and he was always a little goofy. I'm not saying he was ever the smartest guy. I mean, he's a corrupt politician, right? Joe Biden has been in public office. He's been a parasite in government since I was in first grade. That's how long this guy's been in government. I'm old. So that gives you how long this guy is. So, but in the days in the 80s, if you watch interviews with him, he talks to the reporters like I'm talking to you now, right? Just like this. But here, Joe's like, well, you have to anyway, the thing to know, I mean, it's just painful. It's painful to listen to. And the media knew this and they covered it up. They covered it up to protect our democracy. Our democracy. That was pretty pathetic, but that's where we were. So, yeah, that came out. They're dropping it now, though, because, why not? I think they're really dropping it now, too, is because the Democrats really don't like Joe anymore. And they don't want to give Jill, because I think Jill's really pissed that Joe, they forced him to drop out. And there's a lot of people joking, maybe Jill should, Joe run again in 2028. He'll probably be, just the way he's going, I don't think he's long to live. He's really declining. But I think they see him as a net negative right now. And so they're trying to shoo him away. They don't want him in the 2028 convention or anything. He'll be in a wheelchair by then. By the way, they were thinking about putting him in a wheelchair if he won the second term. Just think we'd have this guy right now dealing with the Russians, the Chinese, everything. Obviously, Biden wasn't running anything. He was a puppet. He didn't know what was going on. It was a really, really sad situation there. But that's a situation like that. All right. Okay, this article is a little biased. Let me just have another one here. Take a look at this. Okay, Ukraine. They had their meeting today. Some people don't like the Ukraine stuff. I get it. They're not into the war, but they did have this was funny. They had the Ukrainian delegation met with the Russian delegation. let me first do the little background, what's happening here. To keep it brief, the war started in 2014 when Victoria Nuland and George Soros, they did a coup in Ukraine, and they had a president that was pro-Russian at the time. We overthrew him because we wanted someone anti-Russian, because the neocons considered Russia to be the enemy. It was stopping their utopia of one world government, and they're not going to have gay pride parades in Moscow. We got to fix that. So Soros and Victoria Nuland did a coup, and we put our guy in there, and then that guy left, and then we got Zelensky. And then since 2014, they've been fighting the eastern provinces in Ukraine, which are called the Donbass. And the Donbass are ethnically Russians. They're mostly Russian speaking. And they started a secession movement. They were kind of fighting Ukraine. And part of it is because the ethnic Russians don't get the same rights as Ukrainians. And there's a lot of persecution. So they wanted to break away or have some independence from Ukraine, or have some autonomy. And so there was a civil war that basically went on for 7 years in Ukraine. 10,000 people died. It was really bloody. And Russia sort of backed the Donbass region, and Ukraine, via the United States and the West, they got a lot of NATO money and arms to fight the rebels in the Donbass. That's kind of it in the nutshell. And then in 2022, Putin invaded the Donbass. He said, based on the request of the governments of the Donbass, saying, hey, come in here and help us. We want to break free from Ukraine. So he invaded, and the troops, quickly, there was a group of Russians that went around to Kiev, if you remember that. Right after the war started, that happened real quick. And then there was never an attack on Kiev. The Russians never attacked the capital city, but they had negotiations happen. So there was kind of a lull in the fighting. And right after the invasion, there was negotiations in Istanbul. And in Istanbul, Ukrainians met with Russians, and they signed a peace agreement, a tentative agreement where they initialed that would give the Donbass some autonomy. It would still be part of Ukraine, but they would respect the Russian-speaking population and not kill them and that type of stuff. They would be allowed to have the Russian Orthodox Church and so forth. And they both agree to that. But then before it was implemented, and as a sign of goodwill, Russia said, okay, you initial this, we'll remove our troops from around Kiev. Remember, they removed their troops from Kiev because they thought they had agreement. But then at that point, Biden or Anthony Blinken, because Biden, he's like, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't know what's going on. But the Anthony Blinken, he said, no, Zelensky, you're not signing this agreement. The whole point of this is us to topple Russia, and you're going to fight. So he sent that mop-haired guy from Britain. What was his name? I forget that guy's name. But he was the British prime minister over to Ukraine and saying, no, you better not sign this agreement. Just ignore the agreement. So that set off the war then in earnest. So then the war started in a serious way. And it's been a really bloody war. It's been a slow-moving war, trench warfare, drones, the whole bit. And Russia is, in general, they've been winning. It's been slow, but they've been winning. Ukraine, they tried a counterattack that failed spectacularly. They invaded Russia itself. That has failed. And Ukraine's running out of men right now. And the West is depleted of ammunition. The United States, we're going bankrupt, but we don't have the ammunition anymore because we potentially could be in war with Iran and then China. So, and then we have to bomb the Houthis. We kind of lost that one. So we just can't, there's not an endless supply of ammunition to give to Ukraine. So Trump, wanted to put that to an end, and Trump wanted to bring this to the end. But the problem is Russia, they're basically, their understanding of victory is they get to keep Crimea and Donbass. And their logic is the people in these regions, they voted, they had a referendum. Let's vote. Do you want to be part of Ukraine, independent, or part of Russia? And the people overwhelmingly voted that they want to be part of Russia. Now, the West could say, oh, that's a sham vote. Well, do the vote again then. But the people will vote to be part of Russia. That's what they want. They're Russian speaking, the Russian ethnicity. And they know that. Everyone knows that. Talk about our democracy. Well, shouldn't they be able to vote on that? I don't know. There's a lot of wars, right? That happened with the American Revolution. We kind of decided to break apart from Britain, and that started a war. The South voted to break apart from the North. That started a war. So this is kind of the same type of thing. They want to be separate. They want to be part of Russia. But Russia's been winning. And despite all the propaganda about they're a weak country, they're not a weak country. They have a lot of industry. They're pretty sophisticated. And I'm not saying they're perfect, but they have a lot more men. They have a lot more industry than the West does. And they've been grinding down Ukraine, and they're winning. So Russia's position is we get the Donbass. In fact, in Russia's point of view, the Donbass is Russian because they voted to bring it into Russia. So according to Russia's point of view, Crimea and the Luhansk and all the other regions there are part of Russia. And so the Russian position is, we get these regions and then we can discuss the rest. Like you stay out of NATO and stuff like that. And so that's where we are right now. I don't see a way that this is going to be resolved through the negotiations. But what happened here then is reportedly the Russian delegation said that Ukrainians need to withdraw from the 4 new Russian regions. This is the Donbass region, which is made up of, I think, 3 regions, and then the Crimea. If they want a ceasefire. The Ukrainian delegation said no. And then the Russian side stood up and said, next time it will be 5, and left the room. Pretty badass, right? So, yeah, that is something that I think Russia, see, there's a reality, and this is Trump told Zelensky this. Ukraine's been all about PR victories and media lives. Much of our establishment, they believe in fantasy. They believe in narratives, not reality. And they think they're narratives. If you have a good narrative, it will change reality. They believe that when it comes to race, if we just believe everyone's equal, it'll become that way. About sex, men, if we just pretend a guy in a dress is a girl, it makes him a girl, right? We just need everyone to pretend that. No, it doesn't change reality, but this is how these people think. So they have this narrative about Russia being weak and everything, but that's not reality. Reality, Russia is winning, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. We don't have the arms, but even if we gave the arms to Ukraine, they're running out of men. And unless we want World War III, which Trump doesn't, Trump told Zelensky, you don't have the cards, you're going to lose. And Trump told Zelensky, you should take a deal that you can get, otherwise you may lose it all. But the problem is Zelensky, that's the only reason he's in power is because the war is going on. If the war stopped, he's out of power. Because don't forget, he's a dictator. He canceled the elections. It's a one-party state in Ukraine. It's not our democracy thing. It's a dictator. And so he will end up like Ceausescu, meaning executed, or he'll have to flee, if he can, to the United States or Tel Aviv. He's Jewish. Maybe he'll go that route. So that's where that is. And Ukraine should just take what they can get because Russia, they're in a position of, I think the only reason Putin agreed to the negotiations is to seem reasonable, but there's not really anything to negotiate. And there's not much incentive for Putin to negotiate because they're winning. It'd be, for example, I use the chess analogy. I'm a poor chess player, but sometimes before I go to sleep, I like to play chess on the phone. There's chess.com has an app, and you can play various levels. And I got so I can beat all the intermediate levels. So at advanced level, they always kick my ass. But so I'm not that good of a player. But it'd be like in chess, if you're winning, you got more material and you're about to, defeat your opponent. And then they say, oh, the opponent comes out and say, hey, why don't we just call this a draw? You're like, what? No. Why would I want to do that? I'm winning. And that's the situation with Russia. I guess you could say that, oh, well, put more sanctions on Russia. Well, you already have as many sanctions as you can do really on Russia, and they're doing fine. And it's actually threatening our dollar because we cut them off the dollar. So Russia's like, oh, okay, we'll start BRICS, Brazil, Russia, China, India, South Africa, and we'll just be separate of the dollar. And that puts the fear of God into America because that's how we're able to spend more than we take in. So, yeah, Russia's in a strong position. I think Putin, though, he wants to improve relations with Donald Trump and America. So they want to try to appear reasonable, saying, we're willing to discuss things, right? Unlike Ukraine, based on their constitution, they're not even allowed to discuss things with us. Again, not that their constitution means anything. They're it's a banana republic over there. But so, this is where we are now. Russia wanted to be seen, hey, well, we tried to negotiate, but there's not any common ground because Ukraine's position is Russia has to leave Crimea, all the 4 territories, they have to pay war damages. I think they have to arrest Putin. It's just crazy. And Russia's position is like, yeah, we're keeping the Donbass and Crimea. And if you keep acting up, we'll just take all of Ukraine. So that's where we are right now. I don't know if there'll be much of anyway, that it's going to be settled on the battlefield. It's as simple as that. And things are going pretty well with the Russians now on the battlefield, despite all the propaganda you were told. Again, the media lied to you for 3 years, and Russia's doing well. So Ukraine should be happy to get anything, but that's where we are now. It's kind of a brief summary of the Ukrainian war. And I got another super chat. So thank you, $20. Let me bring that up so you guys can see. I appreciate your super chats. Thank you. Let me have my cataract, so this screen helps. Have you made mention of Stephen Whiteworth mentioning that America was no longer taking the neocon foreign policy stance? Then Mark Levine claiming that word to be anti-Semitic. Do you see the neocons losing influence? Thank you, Real Truth. Yeah, I did discuss that earlier. I think it was our Daily Dispatch. And I do think, well, Trump's playing it coy because he understands the power of that group. They still have a lot of power. They have a lot of money. They have a lot of influence in the media. Let's just, everyone knows that. You're not supposed to say it, but everyone knows it. So, but Trump is getting frustrated with Netanyahu, and the whole genocide thing they're doing in Gaza is kind of getting old and losing a lot of sympathy for Israel. Yeah, go after the terrorists, but starving kids. I don't really care about Palestinians. I don't want them over here. But it's not good optics to starve kids. And you can only play the Holocaust card so many times and trying to gain sympathy, then people get tired of it. So, yeah, I think a lot of the people like Ben Shapiro are going to be very upset at Trump because Trump wants to get a peace with like Iran. He doesn't want a war. And the Israel First people are like, what the hell? We wanted a war with Iran. We wanted you to fight a war for us against Iran. And Trump is dragging his heels on that. He's not really interested in that. And but at the same time, Trump still loves them. And I guess he came out with a proposal. He wants to take all the Palestinians. He wants to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians and put them in Libya or something. It's a crazy plan or whatever. I'm like, that's okay. Then we can ethnically remove people from our country. I mean, why not? If that's how we're going to do things. I'm okay with that. So, yeah. So Trump's latest proposal is to do some good old-fashioned ethnic cleansing in Gaza. But at the same time, so I think the Israel lobby would be happy with, him getting on board with that. But I do think that they are kind of, disappointed that he's not going to start a war with Iran. So, yeah, it was funny. It was kind of a mask off moment when they said, neocon is just a code word for Jew. I'm like, oh, really? That's an interesting thing to say. I don't know why you would say that, but that's what they said. So, yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I think I had do I have another one here? Yeah, let me just refresh this. So thank you. That was real truth. I appreciate that. And let me check my Rumble for rants. All right. So that's what's going on here. Do I have anything? Oh yeah, this was kind of a funny thing. And see what they're trying to like. I'll kind of explain this negotiations to you too. Here's this Emmanuel Macron, then you have Starmer, and you have that German guy, the Three Stooges. You could consider them, and so what they want to do, because they believe in our democracy, which means trans rights and anti-whiteness, all that bullshit. That they want to defeat Russia, but they're kind of in a fantasy world because England is a very weak nation. I guess they're still pretending it's 100 years ago and they're relevant. They're not relevant anymore. They're weak. And France isn't that powerful, and Germany's a joke. I mean, they don't have anything in the military, but they're talking shit. They're talking tough to Russia, but they know they can't do anything. So they're trying to finagle the United States in the war with Russia. That's their goal, right? And one of the things they're trying to do, because Ukraine is losing really bad now on the front, and Ukraine desperately wants a 30-day unconditional ceasefire. 30-day ceasefire starting Monday, unconditional. And unconditional means, because Russia said, well, we'll be okay with a ceasefire, but we don't want this ceasefire to be used so the Ukraine could just take that time to rearm and reorganize their troops that are in bad shape, right? Rotations and so forth. Because Ukraine is really starting to lose pretty quick now, and as they're starting to break down. So they definitely could use a timeout. It'd be like a sports, basketball game, everything's going crazy. Timeout. We got to get this all together, right? Or a boxer. No, stop it. I need to sit down. And, that's what Ukraine wants to do here. And Russia's like, I don't see how that's in our advantage to allow Ukraine to rearm and to, why should we do that? It doesn't make any sense. So Russia's position on a ceasefire, well, yeah, we'll have a ceasefire, but they got to get out of our territories. Then we can discuss the ceasefire. Because again, Russia considers Donbass their territory because they said the people voted for it. You can debate that, but that's what they say. So what they're trying to do is they think they can manipulate Trump because if they flatter him that, oh, Putin's being unreasonable, Trump, you need to escalate the war in Ukraine and try to get more sanctions on Russia, and maybe get troops in Ukraine. This is what they're angling for. This is their only hope. Because again, they can't do shit because they're weak. They can't do anything. Super chat 199, Timothy, thank you. They can't do anything, so they are hoping they can trick us in the war. And we don't have the money for that. It's just that simple. But so that's the whole spiel that's going on there. That's pretty crazy. All right. And I'm going to go a little bit longer tonight. Usually I keep these shows to an hour, but there was so much news to cover. I'm going to be going a little bit longer, but thank you. And again, I have Powerchats, Super Chats, Rants, and that's good. All right. The budget bill, we'll kind of pivot to the economy. The big, beautiful budget bill, that's what Trump calls it, has failed 16-21 in the House Budget Committee vote after several budget hawks voted against it for lack of spending cuts. Here are the 5 Republican no votes. A setback, but this is not our last chance to pass a bill. Let's get these folks back in the room and get real cuts. So we got a couple things going on here. First of all, the United States were in really a bad situation economically when it comes to the deficit. People have been warning about this since the 80s, but we've been able to kick the can down the road and get away with it for a while. But now it's getting to the point we can't even kick the can down the road. The interest we have to pay on our debt now is more than we spend on our bloated military. So we're kind of tapped out. So there has to be cuts. Otherwise, there could be a financial collapse. Seriously, they could. And especially the dollars could lose influence because of, all the sanctions put on Russia, and they may create a new currency. They haven't yet, but that would be disastrous. So this is a huge problem. So cuts have to be made. And these Republicans, they voted no for the bill because they don't think there's enough cuts. I can respect that to a degree, but at the same time, you got to be reasonable, and you have to have something that's going to pass, right? And I get it. There's some things I'm really upset about the budget. For example, we're increasing defense spending to $1 trillion. We don't need that. We way overspend in defense. If we could, I think, cut the military in half. It would be better. Most of it's just a jobs program, and modernize the military. And I think it'd be a lot more efficient and be more effective. And no, we just can't go around fighting wars for our best little friends. Sorry, guys, our best little friends can just fight on their own. We just don't have the money anymore. So I agree with that. We should be cutting defense a lot more. But what Trump has been in this bill that you will hear the Democrats squealing about, oh, it's going to starve people. There's basically 3 things that are happening here, right? That he's not cutting money in Social Security. So, which I agree, because you shouldn't cut Social Security, at least for the old people, because they put in, that's their money. And that was the problems. And the same with Medicare. Medicare, you put in your taxes your whole life. That's an insurance policy when you get 65. Again, that should not be cut. I'm okay with that. But Medicaid, that's where bums and, Letitia that pops out all these little babies that are going to grow up to be in jail. She lives on Medicaid, right? That's the poor people insurance that we have here. And Medicaid, you'll hear the Democrats squealing and crying how this is going to be mass deaths if we cut that. I wouldn't be opposed if that was the case, but that's sadly not really the case. What's happening here? What it is, the Medicaid, there's 2 things that Trump has proposed on this in this bill, and I think they're reasonable. Number 1 is, if you're an illegal alien, obviously you shouldn't be on Medicaid. You shouldn't be on any program. You should have your ass deported, right? So to me, that's reasonable. But so when they say they're going to cut Medicaid, that's what they're talking about with illegals. And the other thing is, there's a proposal that able-bodied adults from ages of 19 to 55, if you're on Medicaid, meaning you're getting free health insurance because you're not working, there needs to be a determination like, wait a minute, why aren't you working? And so if you're going to get Medicaid, which is, again, free health insurance if you're poor, you have to show that you are in job training or you're in community service for 80 hours a month, which I think is legitimate. So they're saying if you're a healthy adult and you're getting free health insurance because you don't have a job, number 1, why don't you have a job? And you need to go. And so we're not going to penalize you if you can't get a job. But in order to get your free health insurance that we are paying for, you have to be in a jobs training program to show you're trying to get a job, or you need a community service, pick up trash on the side of the road, make yourself useful. And this is Bible. This is Bible. Remember, all the usual suspects quote the Bible. Oh, Jesus was a refugee. Jesus would love trans. No, he would say sinners go to hell unless you believe in him. But the Apostle Paul, who was inspired by the Holy Spirit, said, if you don't work, you don't eat. That's Bible. That's God said that. And I don't think we should disobey God. So I think these things are reasonable. But the Democrats are wailing, gnashing their teeth, because what's Letitia to do, right? Is she supposed to get off her fat ass and do something? That'd be racist. So that's the whole outrage about Medicaid. The other thing is what they call SNAP. That's what we used to call food stamps, or what's called EBT. It's no longer stamps they get. Now they get a credit card. and you have these big ghetto mamas buying all the shit with the food stamps, right? Which I made a post today on X, and I agree with this. In order to get food stamps, you should have to weigh in every month. And if you're overweight, obviously you don't need extra food. You should be cut until you get your weight down. I don't know why we give fat people free food. But besides that, what they're trying to do with this food stamps is they really want to look at if the people that are on it are what's going on there. Why do they need these food stamps exactly? Why aren't they working and all that type of stuff? So this is when you hear the Democrats screaming, this is what they're screaming about. So that is the situation there. All right. Let's see here. Let me take a look a little bit about the Timothy, $4.99 super chat. Recommend Serpensa from China show. South African YouTube and white farmer now in America safe. His farm was invaded, mob kidnapped in SA then. Yeah, South Africa is a horrific dystopian nightmare, and murders, rapes, carjackings, everything that the white people, the evil races predicted did happen, right? What do you know? What do you know? So, and that's part of the reason they don't want to mention South Africa, because it embarrasses the left, because they thought they were going to have their utopia, and it hasn't quite worked out that way. So, yeah, there we go there. All right, let's see here. All right, Iran offers nuclear deal. They said they won't develop a nuclear bomb if they get sanction relief from the United States. And I'm like, yeah, this is a good idea. So Iran doesn't get the bomb, and then we can be friends with Iran. Why not? Well, I tell you why not, because people like Tom Cotton, he's my senator from Arkansas, that you would think he's a senator from Israel because he's being paid by them. Right? AIPAC is funding him. He's foreign controlled. And Israel doesn't want this. They want Iran to be destroyed. So this is an example of when we have other groups or other nations controlling our government, it's not a good thing. All right. Now, the question about South Africa, that's a good one. Let's take a look. So they interviewed a South African leader about that. So let's listen to what these nice people have to say here. Here we go. This is the EFF leader in South Africa.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm saying to you, we have not called for the killing of white people, at least for now.
Oh, well, that's good. That's reassuring, right? Could you imagine if, like, some white person, some politician, yeah, we're not calling a killing of God's chosen people, at least for now. At least for now, we're not calling for that. That makes me. These people have such low IQ; they don't even know optics.
I can't guarantee the future.
Yeah, I can't guarantee the future. We may slaughter the whites in the future, but for now, we're not.
I mean, you'd understand somebody watching that, especially as it gets shared on Twitter. They freak out. It sounds like a genocide.
Cry babies.
Crybabies. You don't want to be murdered? You're a crybaby. I don't care about you crybabies. Could you imagine if this was their attitude about the Holocaust? Oh, a bunch of crybabies. What a bunch of crybabies.
Crybabies.
I'm not calling for the slaughter of white people, at least for now.
I can't give you a guarantee of the future.
Yeah, you never know. We may call for the,
especially when things are going the way they are.
Yeah, the way they're going on, we're probably going to have to call for the genocide of whites in South Africa. And again, this is not just some random hobo they picked up in South Africa. This is a leader of the party.
Especially if things are going the way they are, there will be a revolution in this country, I can tell you now.
Yeah, and you guys won't win. You'll starve. So There you go. I don't know. I don't, what do you want me to say? This isn't some evil white supremacist propaganda. This is the Black African IQ 90, 80. Is it 90 or 80? I don't know. And he's just saying, well, I'm not calling for a genocide of white people now, at least for now. Maybe in the future, if things keep going the way they are, we'll probably have to slaughter them. And the guy goes, don't you think that's kind of bad optics? And maybe, it's going to be shared. Cry babies. Yeah. Interesting. All right. So, and this is always funny, AI, how it's especially Chat GPT. I use Grok, it's better. But this was funny. You get this. Ask Chat GPT, should Black people have their own countries? And Chat GPT, yes, they do. Should white people have their own countries? Oh, no. Nations are based on culture, not race. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that fascinating? That is just fascinating here. All right. Anthony Cumia, he retweeted this. So let's listen to this powerful Black woman. Powerful Black woman. They're so intelligent. All right, let's listen to her.
And all I can keep saying in my head is that, like, America does not deserve Black culture.
We don't deserve Black culture. I agree with you 100%. And we've sinned. We don't deserve your blessings. We just don't deserve them. Oh, the worst thing they could do to punish us is leave. Oh, no. What if you leave our towns? Oh, no. Our schools. Oh, no. Yeah, don't do that. But we deserve it.
Like, Black culture is too good for America.
I agree. I agree with that. I will miss the twerking.
America does not appreciate it. America just steals it and colonizes it and uses it as their own. They don't deserve it at all. Like, Kendrick Lamar put on a show of a lifetime. Half the people that watched it didn't even get what he was saying, what the message was. But, us people, we saw it, we clocked it, and we received it. And we're thankful because it's Black History Month. He made us proud. And it was art. And it was amazing to watch.
Yeah. So, okay. I'm okay with us losing Black culture, I guess. We deserve it. I agree. I think you need to be in a spot where we can't stop it. Hey, South Africa looks like a good place for the Congo. And you could celebrate there. Take that away from us. I mean, I hate to see it. And we all hate to see it. I don't want a doomsday scenario, but could you imagine the utter nightmare if all Black Americans just left the cities and went back to Africa? You know what a nightmare that would be for us. We want to know what to do. It'd be a hellscape. And Black people, please don't do that. That would just make our lives miserable. That would be miserable. So that's her threat, though. All right. And now there's a little issue that's happening in South Africa, too, because one of the things that did this is the South Africans decided, this is a little history lesson. I'm not going to repeat everything I said on Z-Man, the history of South Africa. But 400 years ago, it was like the 1600s, the Boers settled in South Africa. It was basically vacant. The Blacks there that are now are primarily like Bantus. And they came from West Africa. That's kind of like the Africans we have here. But in South Africa, there was some really primitive Stone Age tribe. But that was about it. There weren't many. They're hunter and gatherers. And the Bantus later basically killed them all, but that's another story. So it wasn't being used by anything. The South African Boers, they settled there. They set up farming. And that's what Boer means, by the way. It means in Dutch, I believe, farmer. So they're farmers. Well, the Blacks said, this isn't fair. We need to give all these farms to the Blacks and steal them from the whites, which they did in Rhodesia. And you know how that ended up. Risha know how that ended up. And they're doing the same thing as South Africa. 90% of the farms seized from the Boers by the Bantu commies are lying derelict. No one told the Bantus that farms require hard work, so they didn't bother. This was a catastrophe for farm animals, most which had to be euthanized. So they took over these farms. They stole them from the white farmers, kind of turnkey, great operating farms. And the Bantus, which are the black tribe there, were similar, our blacks, they did their happy dance and waved machetes and whatever. I guess twerking maybe or whatever. But they didn't decide they actually want to run the farm, because running a farm is actually work. And no one really wants to feed the chickens, right? They like the eggs from the chickens, but they don't want to take the time to feed them because they have other things to do. They got to do a funky dance. They don't have time to feed the chickens. So they did their funky dance. Woo! Maybe did a dance, killed the borer chant while they do their dance. And no one fed the chickens. So the chickens started to eat each other because they were starving. So they lost all their chickens. Sad, sad story. And as I said, part of the problem is if all the whites in South Africa should leave South Africa would have mass starvation. And the sad part then is that we would try to get these Bantus in America. That would be the thing. Super chat from Timothy. She should be a Supreme Court justice. What a queen. Yeah, she reminds me of the Supreme Court justice that we have, about the same intelligence, that's for sure. All right, Pam, hi, thank you. I'm amazed they made a hero out of Fauci than Zelensky, both manlets. Yeah, did you see that? I didn't prepare for this, but someone showed they have instructions that as the press, you're not allowed to photograph Zelensky with a taller person, because Zelensky's like a little short. He's almost like just a little guy. And anyone else, like I would tower over him. So they have all this stuff. Yeah, but he's there could be short people that are pretty good, like Napoleon, but Zelensky's just a short little dictator, and he's a piece. Yeah, he's responsible for killing Coach Red Pill. So I don't really care what things end up with him. That is fine. And here we go. I don't know. I used to. I got in trouble when I said this. Now this is, what do you know? What do you know? Here it is. HHS plans to drop COVID vaccine push for kids and pregnant women. Is that still a thing? I didn't even know the COVID vaccine's still a thing. I guess it was, but now they're quietly saying, yeah, maybe this isn't really good for kids or pregnant women. Hey, what do you know? Who said that long ago? You couldn't say that long ago on certain platforms, otherwise you get in trouble. But now quietly, look who lied. Look who else lied. Lies. And that is the situation there. All right, let's see what's happening in California, because Gavin Newsom, right? He probably wants to run for president in a 2028. Newsom faces backlash over budget deficit, homeless crisis. Newsom under fire for California's $12 billion deficit. What? I thought California was an economic miracle, right? The fourth largest economy, I guess because they do porn or whatever. And worsening homeless. So all the stuff I put out a plan that would cure homelessness overnight. It's not that hard. But they decide to give all this money to these bureaucrats that don't do anything, and it gets worse. Or they pay people to be homeless, give them drugs. And so California is going down the drain. $12 billion in deficits. I say here in Arkansas, we'll take the white South African refugees. In California, because this is their values, it's their democracy, they can have the Somalis and the Haitians. They can have them. And they can enjoy the enrichment that they get. So Gavin's not very popular on that here. All right, one last thing I try to tell people, this has to do about battle of the sexes. Guys have to really work hard. And here's this. I think she's a prostitute. She's on OnlyFans. How it feels knowing I own a home at 23 thanks to 250,000 men. There she goes. Look at her dance. This is what you simps paid for. This is what you simps paid for. It's a beautiful home. Look at her. She's dancing, laughing at you. You don't even get sex out of her. She's just doing a happy dance, laughing how you are such pathetic, weak men. You give her money. Ha ha ha. And you know what? Good for her. Good for her. If you are a man and you're giving money to a woman who you're not having sex with, you are a simp and you deserve what you get. Full stop. No respect. Women don't respect you. They don't respect men that do that. Have some dignity. Do not give, obviously, you give money to a woman if she's providing a service for you, like she cuts your hair. A girl cuts my hair. I pay her money. Okay, I'm not talking that. But if you pay money to have a girl pretend to like you or try to get validation from the girl, and this isn't only OnlyFans, this is like X thoughts, pathetic, embarrassing. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. And so it's hard for me to blame the girl because she's found a bunch of suckers out there that she can run a con on. So she doesn't have to have a real job. She could just shake her ass and she doesn't even have to give you any sex or anything. What a scam. But the guys are so pathetic and so desperate that they will give this. If you have to look at porn, it's free on the internet. You can get it for free. I heard. I don't know, but I heard it's free. So you shouldn't be paying women. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be on X simping for these women. Don't. Unless you're having sex with them, don't. Doesn't mean you can't comment on things. It doesn't mean you can't interact with women. Don't simp and do not send them your money. Do not. And the guys that do, I don't feel sorry for you. I don't blame women not wanting to date you if you do that. I really don't. That's pathetic behavior. So don't do that. My advice, but yeah, do people listen to my advice? No, not really. So whatever. Have fun. Have fun. I guess if that gives you some validation, go for it. Boy, that's pathetic though. So I know a lot of guys get mad at their girl when they see that, but hey, she's able to con all those suckers. So I guess that's on those men, right? Good grief. How embarrassing. All right. So if you're a man and you have OnlyFans account, you really need to look in the mirror and you need to repent and stop it. You just need to stop that. And it's disgusting. All right. So that's what we got there. Real truth. Do you think prostitution should be legal? Europe has brothels. It's kind of strange how abortion is legal, but consensual sex between two adults is illegal. I'm not saying I'm for it, but just a thought. You know, I was talking to Sasha about this, and I kind of have a different view of this. Probably people, I'll get everyone mad. Vices like gambling, which I've done, I don't do much, or let's say some drugs and prostitution, I don't think are good for society, or pornography. And for the most part, they should be banned. For the most part. Now, here's what I would do. Throughout history, there's always been an understanding, well, people are imperfect. We're never going to totally get rid of it. So the solution they had to manage it is they had what they used to call red light districts, right? So you had to go to a seedy part of town to see your titties or, you know, do your degenerate stuff. You had to go there, not near schools, not in nice neighborhoods. You had to go to a seedy part of town. And I would be okay, like having an island where you have all that degeneracy there, just keep it there. And it's sort of an outlet. So, you know, we're not going to tolerate it in like 99% of the country. But in this one spot, we'll kind of control it. You can go there. So I guess that's my answer. For 99% of the time, I would make it illegal because I don't think it's good for society. But I would allow like a red light district of sorts where you would, it's a way to control it because, you know, it's always going to happen, right? Isn't prostitution, they say, the oldest profession? So this girl, she's engaging in a form of prostitution, let's face it. It's just a type of prostitution. For her, it's easy. She doesn't even have to have sex with guys. And all these desperate, simpy men will give her money anyway because she shakes her ass naked on the internet. So, yeah, it's a good deal for her. But, yeah, so that is pretty pathetic, though. So, yeah, so I'm kind of mixed mind on it. I'm not a purist. So 99% of the country, I think it should be illegal, but I'm okay. Like a real small area, like Las Vegas. That's how it used to be. I'm not really for gambling everywhere, but when it's just in Las Vegas, it was kind of contained in one area. You had to fly there. It made it so it wasn't like over the whole country. And yeah, you could have your like showgirls that are topless. I went to those shows back in the day. They don't have them anymore. We went to one of those retro shows, Sasha and I shit you not, the showgirls, half of them were gay men. It was disgusting. I couldn't believe it. And one was a fatty. So yeah, that's not a good look. But it needs to be just in one spot. And that's, I think, would be a good way to manage it. All right, guys. Thank you. And made my $50 goal tonight. So Monday, I will have the Ramsey Paul show. We won't have a Night Owls anyway on Sunday. We couldn't do that because Sasha's mother, we're having kind of like a memorial thing with her ashes or whatever. And Sasha was raised by her father. She didn't really know her mother until she was an adult. But so we're going to be doing that on Sunday afternoon. Or Sunday evening. So no show on Sunday. But Monday, we'll have the Ramsey Paul show. So guys, thank you so much. It's been a great week. And I will see you next week. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.